Alright guys, I gotta apologize for the wind noise. It's been really windy these last 2 days. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 6.2 off the engine lift here so I can bring the hoist outside, because we're going to be starting up the conclusion of the axle swap video. You know, the 12 volt's been really good to me. I ran it on 34s most of the time. Never had a problem. They're skinny 34s, but it worked great off-road. I think I put a little too much of the posi additive in it the last time. I changed the fluid because the posi doesn't really seem to grab. That could be the reason, or it could just be worn out. I heard when you put bigger tires on it, wears them out. It doesn't have a G80. It's got a clutch type like an Auburn or an Eaton posi in it. But it worked okay. But with these bigger tires and the posi not working great, it's kind of time for it to go. So, as you may remember, we got this 14 bolt over here, full float. Last video I put up, I think, was shaving the bottom of it, so that's all done. Still got to drill out and tap where the vent hose was, because that rusted and broke off. The shock mounts are real rusty, so we're going to cut those off and weld on some new tabs after we get the axle in, because that's not super important right now. I just did hub seals on this side, so I had this off. But as you can see, we got our disc brake bracket on there. So what I'm going to be doing today, hopefully, is ripping the 12 bolt out, putting this thing in. I got new U-bolts and the U-bolt plates that correspond with this axle, because the tube itself is actually bigger. I think it's a 3-inch tube. So you need the longer U-bolts, and you need the spring plates that correspond with this axle. So we're going to be putting this under here. I got a conversion U-joint that goes from 1310 to 1350 to match up with that yoke. I have Cadillac Eldorado 1976 to 1978 Cadillac Eldorado brake calipers. You need those years because they use the big pin spacing, the 7-inch. And they have an incorporated emergency brake, kind of a funky caliper. We'll get into that when we go to bleed brakes and stuff like that, run the emergency brake lines. So we're going to be running those. And then also I got a Detroit on the way for it, so we're going to be putting a Detroit locker inside and placing the spider gears with it. So I'll have a video of how to do that, because I'm sure some people would like to just see a video of installing one of those in one of these. So yeah, here's the 14 bolt. Gonna get this hub thrown back on and drop it down on these wheel dollies so I can roll it up under there. And I'll use the engine hoist, as I had been showing you guys before. I'll use the engine hoist to raise the back of that when we go to pull the axle out. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to put the hoist in, lift it up, pop off the drums, disconnect the emergency brake line. I'll set it on some jack stands to do that work. Then I'll go through, disconnect the drive shaft, the vent tube, both shocks, and I'll disconnect the brake lines at the fitting on the axle, leaving the hard lines on that axle and the fitting on it's still attached to the truck line. Trick to do that when you do this is, if you push down the brake line and then just let the pressure out, having it all the way down the pedal will actually keep any fluid from flowing after the initial fluid is out, and also keep any air from getting in the system. So good little tip there. So once I have all that done, I'll remove the jack stands, position my rollers, and we'll drop this thing down using the engine hoist, set it on the rollers there, and undo the U-bolts, and out she'll come. So my goal for today is to get this axle assembly bolted in there. Not permanent, but just tight, and then tomorrow I hope to finish up doing the brakes and stuff like that. It's just, with the wind today, it's kind of cold, and it's I kind of need to get moving on this, so I'm gonna run through it and get this done. Probably gonna have to grind the brake calipers to fit these 15-inch wheels again, so I could show you guys that as well. Alright guys, I'm gonna get to work, and next video should be with the axle under the truck, and we'll be talking about brakes. Alright.